Not gonna lie, the other night my husband called my name because our youngest daughter was wearing nothing but a pair of rain boots, and she did it all by herself. That's my girl. All right, episode 2. Let's do it. Welcome to Not Gonna Lie, a Wave original brought to you by Dunkin'. I'm your host, Kylie Kelsey. Still getting used to that. I'm also a mom, an Eagles fan, and a butter pecan enthusiast. Coming up on today's episode of Not Gonna Lie, we're in the holiday season, so I want to get honest about gift shopping as a parent, specifically the presents I'm kindly asking you not buy my children. Then I'll be joined by one of my favorite content creators, Allison Cooch, to talk about the first year as a new mom, creating a safe space for women in sports, and protecting our kids' privacy. It is a conversation I am greatly looking forward to. But first, you guys were, again, way too nice about this show. It absolutely blew my mind that you guys were able to get Not Gonna Lie to the #1 spot on Apple and Spotify. I'm still in disbelief about that. The way that everyone has not only been so kind in the anticipation for episode 1, but then also the reactions you guys have had and the comments have been so encouraging. And I really appreciate you guys having such positive feedback, considering I'm still a rookie and we're working out the kinks. But as anybody knows, no matter what, people are always going to try and tear you down. I just really didn't know that the call would be coming from inside the house. Let's take a look at this tweet from @SayRay10. Kylie is the funniest Kelsey. There, I said it. First of all, thank you so much. But then a reply came through from @JasonKels, funniest looking, ... I tell him on a regular basis that he's not funny. I have to do that because there's so many people that laugh at his jokes and that tell him that he's hilarious. I'll take it. I can be the funniest looking. I mean, the Kelsey genes are strong. I am a hard outlier because they all look so much alike. So I can take that funniest looking. I will take that and I will be okay with it. I think that sometimes he forgets that I can actually see his tweets because we were on a phone call shortly after this tweet. And I did say to him, you know that I can see what you post on Twitter. And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, oh, I'm the funniest looking. And he goes, oh yeah. You're beautiful. So way to backpedal, dude. All right. Before I bring on my guest, I want to try out a new segment I'm calling, Can I Be Honest? Last week, I got honest about pregnancy. This week, I'm feeling in the holiday spirit. So let's get fucking real honest about kids' toys. I don't know about you guys, but I often see toys when I'm out shopping or scrolling social media. And I just think to myself, not in my house. So consider this my please don't buy this for my children guide to holiday shopping. You're going to want to send this to aunts, uncles, grandparents, friends, anyone who has asked, what can I get the kids for Christmas? What can I get the kids for the holiday? This is your opportunity to have me deliver that harsh reality because we all need to get real. And before I give you this list, please make sure to donate toys to your local charity. Here in Philly, we love Toys for Tots. I do think they're national, but please consider gifting toys while you're buying gifts for other kids. #1, no toys that will require more than 5 minutes of assembly. Don't do that to people, guys. Don't bring them a toy that requires assembly because a kid sees a box and sees the picture of the toy. They immediately want to play with it. And you know what they're going to do the whole time you're trying to assemble it? On a Christmas morning, a Hanukkah evening. Even this applies to birthdays, let's be real. You know what that kid's going to do? they're going to stand behind you and say, are you done yet? Are you done yet? I'm going to take this screw and I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to try to I'm going to taste this one. Don't do that to people. Let's not. If you're going to give someone something that requires assembly, either do it yourself or consider something else. Number 2, hard pass on anything covered in glitter. I am still so shocked that we have not figured out a way better than a glue base to keep glitter attached to surfaces. This is coming from a mom of 3 girls. Pretty much everything we get has glitter on it. And it makes their hearts so happy. I can't veto glitter as a whole, but I need you to get something that the glitter is sealed. I need it attached to that surface. I need it not leaving it. Number 3, no volume control. Not in my house. I'm going to tell you a story. The gift giver will remain nameless because it's a little close to the family. When Wyatt was 2, she got an electric drum set and it had one switch on it, on and off. It had no volume control, and I tried taping over the speaker. I tried putting it on a blanket when Wyatt wanted to play with it. I could not get it to not be just assaulting everyone's ears when she was playing with the toy. And so it got retired after a week of living in our house into the bottom cabinet of our built-ins. Cut to the following Christmas. That same person brought us another drum set. I have so much guilt associated with this because as the new drum set was being opened, all I could think about was the fact that the old drum set was still retired in the cabinet. Needless to say, the new drum set did have a volume control and was allowed to stay. But there's still a deep amount of guilt associated with the fact that I hid a Christmas gift from my child because I couldn't stand to listen to that damn thing for one more minute at the volume that it was playing at. I'm so sorry, Ed. Number 4, please don't gift my children living creatures. I don't want anything with a heartbeat. And to be clear, Queen Emma has on here that it has to be cleared first. There will be no clearing. I don't want to care for anything else. Now, we have not been gifted anything with a heartbeat yet. I fear that the time will come eventually, and we will handle that appropriately by gifting that thing directly back where it came from. That being said, I truly just think that it would be a sick, twisted joke to gift. Let's be real. You're not giving it to the kid. You're giving responsibility to that parent. And I'm already proud of myself when I can keep 3 children alive each day. I don't need to be working on any more pets, specifically pets that I have not chosen to bring into my household. And lastly, number 5, no toys with too many pieces. I don't know about you guys, but once the kids start playing with the toys that have 1 million pieces, and I then have to go around and pick up all the little pieces, eventually some will end up under the couch or in the trash or honestly, sometimes in the fireplace. We don't freak out. We don't use our fireplace in our living room, but sometimes they end up in the fireplace, which is like a pit of despair. Nobody actually knows what's in the fireplace because there's a gate in front of it. That being said, most likely it will end up as a not full set. And then what good is that? Okay. Recently, the girls have been playing War with Jason, the card game. And after they play, Jason has been super careful to pack up the cards and put them out of reach of children because he knows that the minute those kids get their hands on a pack, we will no longer have 52 cards. So you got to know what you're working with. We're not doing too many pieces. I am going to throw out the parts when I step on them. It's like you've now created a negative dynamic between the two of us. I'm holding a grudge. You're going in the trash. So not too many pieces, specifically small ones also. And special bonus, I thought this one went without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. No toy weapons. We've received a couple weapons at this point. I do believe if you listen to another podcast, you may have heard when Ellie got picked off in the backyard by an airplane gun by Wyatt. So they've proved that they have not earned the trust required to receive weapons because they will try to take each other out. And I don't want to mediate any of that. Again, please donate to your local toy drives this year. And remember, you can always donate toys after the holiday if you receive any of those. Well, guys, we've arrived. It's officially that time in the episode where I get to talk to you about Dunkin'. I gave everyone my signature order on last week's episode. Shout out to all my fellow Butter Pecan fans out there, by the way. And yes, I say pecan because that's how it's pronounced. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I'm pretty sure pecan is a Southern thing. But this week, I'm giving you my Butter Pecan iced coffee origin story. I still remember the first time I tried it. I am a huge fan of nutty flavored coffee, hazelnut, anything in that family. But the Butter Pecan had the perfect level of sweetness and really, shockingly enough, that buttery quality. And then the pecan was the perfect addition to the coffee. It's really the only flavor that I will drink in my coffee and not have to have some version of creamer in there. It's just so good and can stand alone. If you want to give Dunkin's Butter Pecan iced coffee a try, make sure you stop by your local Dunkin' today. Again, order in person at your local Dunkin' or order ahead of time on the Dunkin' app. You're welcome, everybody. Moving on, it's time now to bring on my guest who I have no business speaking to. She's one of my favorite content creators with millions of followers across every social media platform out there. She's also a fellow NFL wife, a mom of a newly 1-year-old daughter, and the host of Sunday Sports Club podcast, and just the most relatable and funny follow, Allison Cooch.
Wow.
Welcome to Not Gonna Lie.
I love that intro.
Girl, we hype them up here. You're gonna leave here feeling hopefully lifted.
I love that. Yeah, you should send that to my husband so he can wake up every day and just like
and announce your presence.
Absolutely, to the whole
Perfect.
household.
We can make that happen. I said it in your intro, but your daughter Scotty, which by the way, huge fan of the name. Huge fan.
I heard that you were maybe planning on naming one of your daughters Scotty.
Yes. So I was very, very pregnant 2 Super Bowls ago. Mm-hmm. And had we had her in Arizona, it would have been in Scottsdale, technically. So we said, we'll give her the initials SB. We were going to do Scotty Bennett. And then since she decided to be cooperative and stay in there, we reverted back to Bennett. But I do absolutely love the name Scotty. So, well done on that.
Yeah, thank you. I personally love it. But you get mixed reviews from other people. I think maybe like the older generation, when I say Scotty, they either think it's a boy or they're like, huh.
Is it a family name? Do you get that a lot? Oh, no. Do you get that question a lot?
Oh, I was like, it's definitely not. I found it on Pinterest. It was like,
is that where we find all of our baby names?
Yeah, it was under like grandpa inspired baby names. I'm like, oh, yes. Scotty, that's cute. But yeah, I've gotten is it a family name? I've gotten, is it short for something? I've gotten all the questions and I'm like, nope, just Scotty.
It's just an adorable name.
Well, thank you.
And it suits her?
It suits her so well. We thought of like a few other names, and I've tried calling her the other names and she doesn't respond to them, obviously, but it also just doesn't fit her personality. She's like sassy and spunky, so it fits really well.
That's amazing. And how was the 1-year birthday? How was it?
I feel like it was really sad. I mean, especially for your first, because the year goes by so quickly and she's starting to get older. And I'm like, wait, it's so sad. But also it's so much fun celebrating her at a year mark, because I feel like that's a huge, like a year of being alive. And then also a year of everything I've gone through. And it's just crazy that it went by so quick. And so it was fun to celebrate her. We ended up going to Disney. I don't know that she even knows everything that's going on. She's like, wait, why are we inside like this? Like, taking her on rides was trippy. She was just like, wait, hold on. I'm not allowed screen time, but I'm able to see all of this.
I always say that taking your kids to Disney at a young age it's for us.
Absolutely.
It's us. Like their reaction, their like look of awe on their face. It's 100% for us.
And I was like, Isaac, hold the baby. I'm going on this ride that
Good.
She can't go on. So I was like, let me just do the solo rider. So absolutely, it was solely for me. Like I was the one eating the Mickey ice cream. I was the one like buying the sweatshirts. She was.
But in motherhood, you deserve, like you survived 1 year of motherhood.
Absolutely. I want to throw a party just for me and like my journey.
1,000%. One of the things that you've talked about is specifically like getting your pink back, and the idea that a mother flamingo will lose its pink because it's tending completely to baby. And after a while, it will start to get its color back. Mm-hmm. Why did you like, is that just the opportunity you've found to sort of build community with women in similar situations, or why did you connect with that so deeply?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about the whole movement of getting your pink back until I think it was 3 months postpartum. And my husband comes home, he has a package in his hand and it's a sweatshirt. And on the sweatshirt, it's like, oh, I'm getting my pink back. And I was like, what? It's like, what's this about? And he was like, oh, it's like a flamingo loses its pink. And he was like, I feel like I see you down sometimes. And I think that you should like really dive into like the journey of like finding yourself outside of motherhood and all these things. So Isaac actually like helped inspire me to maybe like find my own identity outside of just being a mom. And I think it's just been a fun movement to attach myself to, at least for like this current time, because what better way, like it's a great excuse to like go out and like be independent outside of your marriage, outside of being a mom, and find what you love doing. Like I think that like for a year you're pregnant, and then for the year you're postpartum, and finding yourself outside of that is so healthy, not only for you, but also for your family.
Yeah. And in that, like, what are some of the things that you've sort of done?
I mean, one of them is I'm training for a marathon. I don't like running. I don't know that I want. I think it's just that
I power to you. It would not be me. I need a reason to run.
I'm just like mid run. Like, do I actually want to do that? And like, well, I'm getting my pink back, so it's just part of the journey.
Yeah, I always say I'm not running unless I'm running for something or from something. So that's why field hockey worked. I was always like chasing a ball or a person. But like outside of that, I'm like, no, I'm good. Now, you and Isaac have chosen to not post Scotty on social media. Jason and I have shared that we have scaled back sharing our own kids online. We've had sort of a weird limbo between the documentary, because obviously they were included in that. But then also my social media was from before I had as many followers as I have now. So me sharing my kids before was just like a very like, I'm sharing it with my friends and family. But it's not that anymore. So we've been really tactical. What went into that decision for you guys to keep Scotty's identity private?
I think that there's a fine line between sharing and oversharing. And for us, we share so many parts of our life. I mean, the NFL, how I felt about my husband getting a job and losing a job, and then everything in between. So when it comes to me and my experience, there's nothing really off limits. I am kind of an open book. And I think a lot of women, I'm able to help women in that way and other people like struggling through things. When it came to my daughter, we kind of went back and forth. And then I think we settled on the idea of like, well, let's just not share her for a while and see how we feel about it. Initially, postpartum, I was like, this is the cutest baby ever. Like the fact that I can't show people the cutest baby ever, like I'm struggling. But I think it was really healthy and it was a good, like very good for us that it was the separation of, okay, we're taking this video for us, for ourselves, for her to see later down the line. And it never felt like, oh, we're pulling out the camera, and it felt icky in a way. It always felt very like, oh, I'm just a mom recording my child. And not to say that people who share their child online are doing it only for that. But I like that we've kept her private. I did for her first birthday post a video of some of the memories with her face in it. And I was a little anxious to do that. But I think that I feel very comfortable. Me and my husband feel very comfortable not showing her day to day, not showing her every move, like not using her for videos. And the fact that people have seen her face now, I feel very comfortable with. And I think it got to a point where it was then like a game, like covering her with an emoji or covering her in this way. And I was like, okay, I want to keep her private, but not a secret. And I think now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, if people see her face, it's okay. But like, I'm not going to go and make a video of like Scotty's day in the life or what have you not, just because it's something I'm not comfortable with.
Right.
And I feel very confident when it's to keep her private.
Now, when you guys are out in public, I would imagine that you guys get recognized all the time. First of all, you guys are appropriately so, but have a very large following, both you and your husband. But then also you guys are both very tall people, stick out like sore thumbs. We run into that as well. It's very hard to like blend into a crowd when you're like 5'11". You're like, yep, that's me. How have people reacted to seeing Scotty in person?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the tall thing because the tall thing matters.
It does.
Because people note it. I mean, Isaac's a big, big dude. So, and then I'm also tall blonde. So when we are in public, I feel like we are very noticeable, especially for like the height. You can see us from a mile away. And with our daughter, I feel like we've had mixed experiences.
I will say we've had a moment with our oldest specifically when we get back from very public situations, which we don't take them in often just because I can't always assume that everyone is going to be respectful in a way that I want to display for our kids.
Right.
That being said, we've brought our daughter home from places, and just the other day she was like, I'm such a big fan. Can I take a picture? And I was like, who the fuck are you talking to?
Kids, they keep you humble.
I was like, excuse me? Where did you hear that? And she was like, that's what they say to dad. And I was like, okay. A couple years ago, she was 3 and we were out at the beach and we came back to the house and it was probably 2 or 3 hours later. So you could tell she was stewing on it. And she looked at my husband and goes, are you Jason Kelsey? And he was like, yes. Is this a pop quiz? What's going on? And she was like, that's what they asked you at the beach. Are you Jason Kelsey? And I was like, God, you parrot. Like you don't realize how much they're soaking in every second. And so that's why now we're super tactful about not only posting them, but then also how much external interaction they're getting. Mm-hmm. And now it's very much like we leave the house and I like take my parents or I take my nieces with me and they know like no one's to take pictures of them. Like it's very like padded, like it's a very insulated
absolutely
experience, which is a shame because that's not how my husband and I grew up and we're really trying to navigate it, but it's a strange line to tote. So I absolutely love the fact that you've done like the play on like just getting the side of Scotty's face and like, let's talk about something else we have in common besides motherhood. We're both married to football players.
Oh yeah, that.
I will preface this with my husband. We were in a very small percentage. We were unbelievably lucky. He was in Philadelphia for his entire 13-year career. But that's not your experience with the NFL.
Like, oh, okay. Very different experiences.
Cool. Thanks so much for doing that.
Yeah,
now, was there a city that you felt the most community with the women there? Because I have, again, not experienced outside of the Philadelphia Eagles organization and the women that I've come across there, but it has been like naturally with the NFL, a revolving door of women going other places and then staying in contact with them and finding out what the community was like the next place that they ended up.
Totally.
So was there one city that stands out as a really strong like community with the women?
Yeah. And it was the Los Angeles Chargers, but I have to think, was it because we were there for 4 years? Was it because we stayed here year round? I think all those factors definitely come into play because every place I've had a really good experience with other women. Definitely some teams who emphasize family more than others, but I think that just kind of comes with the territory. The Chargers had a lot to do with the family outside of just the guys. I think maybe being like owned by the Spanos family helped with that. There were a lot of like activities for the women. There was like weekly hangouts. We also lived near the beach. So like yoga on the beach, maybe that helped with that. We also were drafted with a group of men who had girlfriends and they also got engaged and then got married along the same time frame. So I think that had to help with that. And everybody my husband got drafted with stayed for the full 4 years, which is very rare.
But it is interesting to think that when you're in sort of the same phase of life, that it lends itself to building a little bit of a stronger community because you're hitting the same phases at the same time.
Right. And so whenever people ask me, oh, are there cliques when it comes to like an NFL team with the wives and women? I'm like, no, it's really just like, don't have kids, have kids.
Have time, don't have time.
Exactly. It's like, hey, can we get a play date because I need a glass of wine and I need somebody else to drink it with?
Another human being to speak, another adult to speak to.
Somebody who can like talk back and not yell at me. That would be great.
We did get to a point in Philly where I had somehow become the oldest. It was always like I was like, oh shit, that is me.
You're like, and so looking for somebody who's going to play.
Yeah. I'm like, is anyone else going to take the lead? Anyone? Nope. Okay. But we got to a point where we would almost stalk people on social media just to be like, have you posted with a girl? You just got here. Have you posted with a woman recently? If so, we'll go to her page. If her page is private, we'll ask before we follow. But otherwise, if she's public and we can see that you guys are still together, we'll just slide into your DMs and be like, hey, welcome. Because I think that they're so busy and they're trying to build their own relationships in the locker room. And if I ever went to my husband and said, hey, can you approach so-and-so and ask for his significant other's phone number, it would be 3 years before I got that. So
you would find the phone number in like a wad at the end of football season in like a shoe or something.
In a cleat at the bottom of the locker. Yes, exactly. So we really found that the best way to do it was to just be direct and say like, hey, if you need anything, it was the same situation as you for LA. Like, we're here year round. If there's anything I can be of assistance with, or you need advice about, or even if it's just a restaurant recommendation, let me know. Because I do think just initiating contact, I might not be your community here. Right. But I can help you in to then introduce you to the other women.
And that's God's work. Like, I have to say, like on behalf of all of the girls who have traveled around to different teams, people like you make the experience so much better and so much less lonely. And I know that like I've been reached out to via DM and I get like random chats and like, hey, I got your number from so-and-so. Like, hey, if you need anything. And those are the girls that I always gravitated towards because I'm like, oh, you're okay reaching out to a stranger and offering X, Y, and Z. Like, this is great. This is helpful. And I feel like even having one point of contact that you can be like, hey, is there like a good bagel place around here? Like,
Or
something
even
as simple as
just
that.
how do you get to the family room? Like
Yeah.
you're in the stadium and you're all by yourself, and some of the stadium staff often know where it is, but
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many people I would get like a random phone call during a game and they would be like, what section is it behind? I'm like, I'll be right there. But it's having that point of contact, and
Mhm.
we really can't rely on similarly to everything else in life, like we as women need to be sort of that self-sufficient, can't rely on our husbands. And so we just got to take matters into our own hands. But I also felt like there was always a drop off between like practice squad
Mhm.
and people who were in during preseason. And so we would always try to make that contact early, because at the end of the day, even if you're not on the final roster in Philadelphia, you could be going to a team that we know someone who had been in Philly
Right.
for a long time who's there, and we can
Mhm.
connect you then. So it was always this, I mean, there's a very large web of women in the NFL. And I think the best thing that they can do, I say they now because I'm retired. But the best thing they can do now is to continue to sort of weave the web and make sure that the women feel supported and connected, and can do that independently outside of their spouse or significant other.
Absolutely. I think so many people kind of forget that, is that these players are going through all these things and ups and downs and what have you not, but also the wives and significant others and family members are also going through that. So I think even when I talked about it on social media of like, oh yeah, there's a family room, there's this, there's that, and people are like, oh my God, he should just stick to football. I'm like, hold on, I'm not even talking about him. I'm talking about me and what I need. And I'm like, moving to a new city is never easy. And so having like a group of women, or even having something as simple as like, oh, okay, like I'm going to go down to the family room for 5 seconds, like, and just take a break. I think that's like the biggest game changer. And it's surprising that some teams I've like my husband has filled out a questionnaire at the very beginning of the season. And like, they're like, oh, do you have a significant other? And then they'll get the numbers. And it's crazy that they haven't figured it out yet.
Crickets.
Yeah. Like, what's going on?
I do think there were multiple seasons where we in Philly would get to November and then have a moment of, oh shit, somebody planned a holiday party. Like we still haven't gotten together.
You hosted a Christmas party, did you not?
We did. Yes. I did not host it, but I co-hosted it. You don't want any parties at my house. You'll be like tripping over toys and sliding in like yogurt.
You're like, it's for the best.
Yeah. You don't, unless you like don't mind getting your like pants dirty when you sit down on our couch, like then come on over.
But it is crazy because I feel like every single team has like a team mom in a way. Not
very much so.
You don't even have to be a mom, but it's usually a guy who's on a contract for a few years. I would say usually O-lineman, maybe sometimes quarterback, but usually O-lineman. And it's one of the wives that's just like, hey, I've been here for a minute. And you just have to it's like literally team mom.
Yes. And it's not always top choice. Like I'm not kidding. Every year, like the last, I would say 2-3 years of Jason's career, I would be like, no one else, anybody else,
hand,
no one. Shit. Okay.
Like,
here we go.
Okay.
I guess I'm doing it now. And it's not because I didn't want to. I just like was very much like, I feel unfit for this role.
Well,
usually I feel like it's
fit. Like if you have 3 daughters, like you have to be a little fit.
I'm still not sure how that happened.
Literally about to have 4 daughters.
Yeah. Still not sure how that happened. I still have moments where I'm like, I'm a teen mom. That's crazy. Wait, no, I'm not. I'm in my 30s. Okay, here we are.
I was scared to tell my parents I was pregnant. So I feel like a baby still for sure.
I'm permanently 24 in my head. It's the age that I'm stuck at. I will always be 24. You can't talk me out of it.
I'm right there with you. So I'm sure it's surprising when people are like, wait, you're the oldest on the team. And you're like, oh.
That's what it was. Every year the rookies would come in and I'm like, oh, we're not the same age. Never mind. We are not. We are.
Like,
the girls would tell me
from college. You're like, oh,
okay. I remember those days. Yeah. It's like, it humbles you quick. Cause then the new girls come in and I mean, 22.
Young and have energy. They're like,
girl.
At halftime, I'm like, can you bring it to my seat?
Yes, they're like going to tailgate before the game. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pop a nap real quick so I can last through this 8 o'clock.
My pregame is sleeping in his car right before the game.
You got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely.
You guys know all about my Dunkin' obsession at this point, especially about my love for their butter pecan iced coffee. But what you don't know yet is I also happen to love their holiday menu. They've got all sorts of seasonal treats to enjoy when you're out holiday shopping, visiting friends or family, or just simply in need of a Dunkin' cookie butter cold brew with a side of a cookie butter donut. I have not yet had the chance to try the cookie butter cold brew because I'm just so deeply in love with the butter pecan iced coffee. But you can bet your bottom dollar that the next time I'm there, I'm ordering one of those. Dunkin' also brought back some more of their best-selling holiday lattes like the peppermint mocha and toasted white chocolate. Plus, they introduced a white hazelnut bark coffee. That's another one I'm going to have to add to my list. That sounds delicious. Pick up some of these festive favorites as well as a holiday-themed box of munchkins or donuts at your local Dunkin' today. Order in-store or order ahead of time right on the Dunkin' app. You used to jokingly lean into the stereotypes of athletes' wives and girlfriends, and how they would spend their husband's money or they were gold diggers and just sort of all the stereotypes that follow us around.
Love it.
But you slowly came to start to expose the other things that you had going on, owning property, managing Airbnbs. And I mean, the podcast is called Not Gonna Lie. That was the moment where I was hooked. I was like, oh, she's been trolling all of you.
Yeah.
And this is perfect. What were the things that you had going on while you were sort of just making light of really, I'm assuming, people in your comments?
When I first started on social media, I worked full-time as an interior designer in Los Angeles. I would commute every single day to LA while my husband played for the Chargers. I loved it. But then when he was a free agent, I understood that I might have to move somewhere, and I'm not trying to commute back to LA for work. And I loved being creative in every other way. So I took all my savings. It propelled me to make an investment, and I bought an investment property in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I have this interior design background, and I was like, wait, if I own Airbnbs or short-term investment, or if I do a fixer-upper, like I can still make my own income, have my own identity outside of football. And like, also it'll help me and Isaac later in the long run. So when Isaac retires, he doesn't have to get a normal job. Like we can figure out something together. And I loved it because I got to be creative. I got to do something that I love, and also got to make money outside of my husband. And so then I started my social media while I was designing my Airbnb. And of course, all these people are saying, oh, you're a gold digger with him for the money. I'm like, probably would have, he got drafted in the 7th round. Like if it was for money, I probably would have went somewhere different. But I started talking about like, oh yeah, I'm a gold digger, and following him and all of that. And it was crazy. I loved being like the satirical comedic person. Like I loved it because I was like, I don't have anything to hide. I have 2 investment properties now, and I'm making more money than my husband, but sure. Okay. We can talk about that. And I got to be creative, and I found like my love of social media, which I've been posting on social media for a long time, but it wasn't until the TikTok era that it started going somewhere, and I got to start working with cool companies like the NFL.
I do love the idea of sort of, if you're saying it about yourself and someone else says it, it's like, you're not original. I already said that about myself.
I already said I was a gold digger. Like,
yeah,
I
already said that. So actually,
I know it.
Irrelevant.
I'm like, okay.
I was obviously, because I think it was the whole NFL algorithm, but I loved seeing your content pop up on my For You page. And then it really was that moment where you were just like, hey guys, I actually own property, and I'm like doing my own thing, where I was like, Yes, troll them harder.
Now you're like, keep going. No,
Get them.
Like push it harder. Like
Get them for all of us. Like me, you're also a big football fan and host an incredible podcast, the Sunday Sports Club. I do think it's amazing that you've created this space to talk about sports in a way that is easily digestible, and then also safe space for women specifically, because I feel like I grew up watching football with my dad. I still, when I first started dating Jason, would sit with him and like teammates or him and Travis. And it would be this sort of like, well, they were in nickel. And I'm like, why did they have coins? What? Huh? I think that that's amazing that you've created that space for women specifically. Because I do think there's so many people who would love to get involved. Like it's so exhilarating to watch a really good game.
It is. You have to understand like a certain level to really be interested in that. And I think that's where I was like, wait, I feel like a lot more women and even people who aren't interested in football would find it more interesting if they knew a little bit more about it. And because I think that's even been like the first few games I went to of Isaac's, I was like, I don't really give a shit. And then once I started really to learn about the like ins and outs of football and like how fun it can actually be, I was like, wait, I love football. I don't need my husband. Like, who cares?
I will say there's still situations where I've watched so much offensive line that I still watch football from the trench. Like when things happened in the secondary, I'm like, I can usually guess the flag before it's like spoken, but for the most part, like in the trenches, I'm like, that was a hold. And I can do that before they throw the flag. I'm like, you better, okay, thank you.
Jason's coming home and he's like, I don't have to watch film. My wife's just going to give me the play-by-play.
Well, it got to a point where he would be like, what'd you think after a game? And I'd be like, well, honestly, that one pull, like you missed your block. But like outside of that, you did great.
Offensive linemen, like wives it's crazy because y'all like actually know so much. Whereas then I feel like defense, I'm just like, oh, I'll watch Isaac, like whatever. But it is so interesting.
It's like, tackle him.
Like
that's literally all I know about defense.
Yeah. And then when like the whole offensive line crumbles, I'm like, I don't know what just happened. And there's always like an offensive lineman girl being like, oh, it's him. And then, yeah.
Very much. I feel like you can very much, after watching that much offensive line, I can be like, there it is. Yep. I know who that was. And if it was Jason, I'd be like, hey, that one was you.
Yeah. Like I actually will. Yeah. That was my husband. Don't worry. I'll get him for later.
That's amazing. Well, Allie, thank you so much again for joining me. This was outstanding. I'm so happy that we finally got to connect. And like I said, I'm just a huge fan of what you're doing and the conversations you're having about postpartum and the safe space you're making for women in sports. I can't thank you enough for coming on to talk to me today.
Yeah, we'll have to get you on Sunday Sports Club.
Happily. Whenever you want.
I love it. Thank you for having me on.
In the spirit of complete transparency around here, I talked to Allison for a longer conversation. We really just couldn't be stopped. You'll be able to find some exclusive, never before seen clips on Monday right on our YouTube channel. I also loved all of your pregnancy craving submissions. Keep them coming. I recently saw one that was freshly baked brownies with potato chips crumbled on top. I'm trying it. Also, I'd love to see what questions you guys have for me. A little Ask Me Anything? So please ask away via TikTok and tag @NGL with Kylie. I will tell you a secret. If you tag me during the hours of, I would say 9 p.m. to 10:30, that's Eastern Standard Time, there's a decent chance that I see it because it'll pop up in my top banner. So just a little hint. And that does it for episode 2. Thank you again to our guest, Allie Cooch. Watch and subscribe on YouTube to the Not Gonna Lie channel, where I'll also be dropping never before seen clips. We'll be back with a brand new episode next Thursday. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow the show on all social media @NGL with Kylie. Not Gonna Lie is a Wave original brought to you by Dunkin'. Thanks again for tuning in.